So does everything sound okay?
Yeah, it's good. And we're live.
Cool. Yeah.
Hey guys. So for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Nachum Russell, or Russ to most of you, because nobody can say my first name. And this
Malcolm.
is my friend, close enough. This is my friend Heather. Heather, how do you say your last name properly?
Smalley.
Smalley. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure. Heather has a company called For the Love of Dog in California, San Francisco area.
Yeah, the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay,
Roundabout.
cool. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do out there?
So I started off doing just pet sitting and dog walking, and then doing some pet taxi services and things like that for people that like need to go to the vet and they're working and don't have the time to do it. So I used to do a lot of that kind of stuff. And then over the years, I just started kind of taking on all the dogs that every other dog walker was firing. And no one could either handle these dogs, or maybe they were like had behavioral issues, aggression issues, things like that. So I kind of started taking on all these really behavioral challenging cases, like really, really challenging cases. And then I started seeing results. The dogs were becoming a little bit more well behaved. The owners were being happy that like, oh my God, my dog all of a sudden is like now walking nicely next to me. Like, what is even happening? I don't even know. I didn't even do anything. So I started kind of doing training without actually getting paid for doing training. And then one of my clients was like, what are you doing? Why aren't you offering training? And I was like, I have no idea. I don't know. I guess I don't like money. I don't know what the deal is. But yeah, so I started kind of slowly integrating training into it. And so I started kind of just doing it for my clients who I already had. And then of course, word of mouth gets out, and then that person tells that person, and so on and so on. And so that's kind of how things went with me. And that's kind of how I transitioned into doing training. But I'm still doing pet sitting and dog walking stuff, but I'm just really cautious about who I take on right now. So cool. That's kind of the gist of it.
So I was going to ask how you got into dog training. I'm assuming that you got into it though as a mistake, right? That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started when I was doing the pet sitting and dog walking, and I got started doing that because I worked at a daycare and boarding facility, and I just saw a huge need for in-home sitters because dogs there, I mean, as you know, like stress can cause a lot of issues with dogs. So I saw a lot of that happening there because that just wasn't the right environment. Although in the owner's perspective, it's like, what a great place. My dog can be outside with other dogs and play around and have the best life ever. But it's like, yeah, Karen, your dog doesn't like dogs, you know?
Poor Karen.
Karen, listen.
I would never want to have the name Karen these days.
Poor Karen. Yeah, I know, right?
Like, I know somebody named Karen. She's a really sweet lady, and I feel so bad for her.
It's so good, though. You know what I mean? Yeah. Susan and Karen. I use those too much. Yeah. But yeah, so I just saw a huge need for it, and something that it was like, you know, it's a great image in people's mind of their dogs romping around in this field with other dog friends and things like that. But the reality is it just doesn't work like that with all dogs. And so these dogs that I saw a huge need for something different, I was like, you know what, let me just try this. There were a lot of things that were happening behind the scenes at that place that I just was like not comfortable with. And my morals could only handle it for so long, you know? And I was finding myself going home just like bawling on my way home because of these things that I wanted to change, but I couldn't, you know, there was nothing I could do about it. And so I decided to make a change. And I just literally like, I had a last straw moment at that place. And I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And I literally, from then I was kind of figuring out, how do you start a business doing dog walking and pet sitting? Like, how does this work? And I realized it was kind of easy to start up, and it didn't really take a whole lot of investment. It was basically under $1,000 and you can get started. And so I started doing that. And the first probably 10 clients that I had, weirdly enough, were all people from this daycare boarding place that I used to work at. Yeah. And it was really, honestly, it was by chance. I was like, did you know I left? And they go, no, I had no idea. Like, I would show up at their door and be like, wait, Izzy? Like, I know Izzy. Hold up a second. And so it was weird. So it started out like that, and then just snowballed into like word of mouth referrals after the next word of mouth referral. And it just kind of snowballed into that. And it took off. And that was almost, this is going to be year 10 for me. Is that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been pretty much nonstop ever since, which is great. But I definitely, I there was a lot of downfall in that as well, because I was working 7 days. I mean, I still do work 7 days a week, but I was working like 17-hour days, 7 days a week, and I burnt out really quick, you know. And I realized that like I'm no good to my clients if I'm no good to myself, you know. So I kind of had to step back for a little bit. I took some time off and I went to Jersey, actually out in the where you're at, New York area. And I went out there to help a friend of mine who had breast cancer she was struggling with and needed some support. So I was like, you know what, I need a break. So it was a good time for me to kind of step back and just take a breather in a sense. So I did that. I stayed out in Jersey for a little bit, and then I came back here because the California weather, man, you can't beat it.
Yes, I'm jealous.
Scenery,
oh. We've had like I don't think we have summer anymore. That's what I think. New York doesn't have summer ever again. It's
really?
We've
what
had
is it like out there?
It's disgusting. It's windy. I was just outside, like I thought it was like, oh, there's a break in the clouds, there's sun. So I grabbed one of the dogs I'm working with. I was like, let's go. We're going to the park. We get to the park. 10 minutes later, the sky opens and we just get soaked and it starts pouring again. And like I went back to the car. So I was like, okay, we're gonna go back to the car. We sat in the car for 10 minutes. The sun comes back out. We went back out. That's New York.
That reminds me very much of Texas. I grew up in Texas, and so the weather there is like 100% bipolar. It's like doesn't know what season it is in any point of the day.
It's okay, since we're talking about weather now, it's supposed to be spring right now, and it's colder than it was in the winter.
What?
Like we had like,
is it snowing out there?
Not right now, but on Saturday it snowed. Like not serious snow, but there was flurries. Anything is serious when it's snowing in May. It doesn't have to be like a foot. Like it was snowing. I was not happy, to say the least. And like,
oh my gosh, that is insane. I had no idea. Wow. It was like 90 degrees when it was snowing over there for you.
Yeah. And like I see people like in California or like whatever, like going swimming and shit, and it's like I hate you. Like it gets me so pissed off. I got these 2 nice kayaks to go in my bay, and I had all these plans for the spring and summer, but I don't think it's happening this year. So
that is hilarious. Yeah, move on from it, right?
Yeah.
It's an memory.
Back to dogs for a second, though. Then we could do the weather complaints. I love that your background is that you worked in a daycare beforehand. Because
you did too. I listened to one of your other lives, and you kind of came the same route, right?
Yeah, that's how I got into working with dogs. Was I didn't even know when I first got my dog. I had no idea that there was an industry like that. People made money with dogs. I never knew that. Because I didn't grow up with dogs. And like, I loved animals, but I didn't grow up with them. My parents were like, no, we have 8 kids. Like, there's no dogs happening in this life.
We have enough madness going on. Yeah.
So when I got my dog, though, and then like, I literally used to drive by, before I had a dog, I used to drive by the place that I worked at and laugh and be like, people pay someone to watch their dog. Like, I thought it was the biggest joke, dog daycare. I was like, that's crazy. Dog people.
Little did you know.
Yeah. And then I started working there like 2 years later.
Oh my gosh, that is funny.
And I worked there for, honestly, like, I think the experiences I got from there were amazing.
Yes.
In terms of like learning how to be with animals.
Yes.
But at the same time, I completely understand why it's like, all right, let's do something better for these animals and just throw them in and let them be stressed with each other. And I think it's like I tell all my clients not to send their dogs to daycares at all. Like not any specific, just don't do any, right? Mm-hmm. Unless like you find someone who's doing obviously a structured thing, but that's not the regular.
Ooh, few and far between.
Yeah.
Definitely not in this area for sure. No one's doing it out here.
None that I know of around here. If there is, somebody let me know. I'll send business.
Yeah, same here. If you're in the Bay Area and you know of someone who's doing a really nice structured daycare, please.
Yeah, I got a lot of business with somebody who's doing that. But I think like the lessons that I learned from it are really good about like what to do, and even more so what not to do, and things like that are very interesting. And a lot of dog trainers speak against daycares because they know in theory why it's wrong. I speak about it not just in theory. It's like I felt what is wrong. Like I saw it. I lived it. Like it's not
How
good.
long were you there for?
Almost 3 years.
Okay, so same here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 3
And
years.
what was your setup like? How was it set up? Like one big giant room and everyone just kind of played together, or like what was the
So
setup like?
they had like two main play areas. And they would split it up mostly like by size and I guess kind of personalities a little bit maybe like high energy dogs would be in like the big dog area, and then but of course there's always small dogs that are crazy too. So it was mostly like small dogs and big dogs. And it was like it was like a warehouse type of space that was converted into it. So it was a very big open area, with staff in there with the dogs. And then it was a very big operation there. So they had grooming on one side and
Wow.
daycare and boarding and then training. So there was a lot going on there at once. Like on the other side would be like a whole grooming factory, like
Wow.
the dogs coming and going, getting groomed. And then there was like the senior room for the little old dogs in the back.
I love it.
Yeah, that was like really cute. The senior room, I like that.
That's
But
my speed. I like it.
it was pretty much like a big open space that they called an indoor dog park with a lot of dogs from all different lives and backgrounds and personalities thrown into the space to play with each other.
Yeah. It's that's kind of similar to how ours was set up too. More so, I mean, well, it's funny because they say they're on 22 acres, but their facility is not. Like the land that they own is. And so in the client's mind, it's like, wow, all this
It
space.
sounds great.
Like, no, don't get it twisted. But yeah, they had separated yards based on size, temperament, all that kind of stuff. So, which was crazy because I mean, if you think about it, you throwing all these really high energy dogs in one giant group together, and it's like, well, hope this works out, you know? So it's like, yeah, I realized in that I learned very quickly how to break up a dog fight, you know? And then I also learned a ton about canine body language and what to look out for and how to be prepared for a potential bad situation to happen. And then, you know, I just, a lot of things, good teamwork, you know, working with other people, you know, all these things. I learned so much from that job. I'm forever grateful for that experience, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I definitely am very, very grateful for that opportunity, and the people that I met there and everything is some really amazing people. So for that, I'm very grateful.
Yeah, I said the same thing. There's no way that I wouldn't be training. I mean, maybe I would because I had my own dog that got me into training, but like I wouldn't be where I am today with like the amount of knowledge and experience in a short amount of time without that. Like it kind of like gave me a ton of experience that a lot of people, because if you're handling like 40 dogs a day, let's say, right? Because they come and go and every single dog is different, and you're with them and you've done it, and you're reading their body language and you're breaking up fights and you're seeing how they respond to different people differently. Like no book in the world is going to teach you that stuff. Like that's the real stuff that takes a lot of experience, and kind of like I got a shortcut in experience. Instead of having to do it for 15 years, I got 3 years of craziness and got the experience quick. But
so we would have sometimes upwards of 50 dogs in one yard. But we would have on like holidays and stuff, we'd probably have close to 350 dogs there. So
so we never got that big. Ours was
so that amount of dogs, I got to know a lot of breeds. I got to see a lot of kind of things where it's like, oh, okay, that's a very boxer like way to play, or oh, that's a very, you know, shepherd kind of way to herd.
Foxes do the wiggle.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I got to learn a lot from there. But I think you're right in the sense, I think this is also something good for those people that are looking to get into dog training, of like, you hear that all the time. How do you get started? What do I do? What school do I go to? All this stuff. And I'm like, I always tell people, don't waste your money on school. Honestly, the best experience you can get is hands-on working with the dogs, because there's no amount of books you can read that will prepare you for having an actual live animal in front of you. and
Yep.
seeing how to handle this. And then, okay, the dog's stressing out. Now what do we do with this? And all these things. So there's so much that can be learned just on the other end of the leash, and that you just can't do, and you can't get that experience in a book, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Go work in the daycare for a year and then start training dogs.
Yes.
Great experience.
Absolutely. Yeah, I always tell people, like, I mean, and this is just for my personal experience, because this is kind of how I got started, was volunteering at shelters and just walking dogs and cleaning up kennels and things like that. Just learning how to care for dogs. But yeah, so walking dogs and that sort of thing is a really good way to get started, to just get your hands on dogs.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, working at a daycare or something like that, where you can experience this, a lot of different personalities, how to manage dogs, pack management, you know, first aid, because Lord knows that's going to happen there. You're going to have
a lot of it.
Fair share of first aid moments.
Yep.
You're going to get to know the vets in the area pretty well as well.
Yeah, I have great relationships with the vet. Like, I found the vet that I use now because of bringing dogs to that vet from.
Oh, really?
Facility. Yeah,
That's
and he's
cool.
great. And we have, like, he loves my dogs. We have
That's
a great
cool.
relationship. I send my friends to him. I send my clients to him. Like,
Yeah.
and I found them from going there for those types of situations that shouldn't happen.
See the benefits of it, I swear.
Yeah,
Great.
I have more first aid experience with dogs than with people, that's for sure. And like,
same with me.
Yeah, I've first aid, CPR. I've done the classes on it, but I've had it all so hands-on, like, so many times that, like,
oh yeah,
I know what to do in all these situations. And obviously the situation shouldn't happen, but it's great when you have the experience to know how to deal with it.
What's like the craziest first aid situation you've ever experienced?
Okay. No one's going to believe me on this.
Oh, I
All
love
right, I'm just going to say it. It's like, this is my show. If people don't like it, whatever. So there was this little old dog. He was, what are they called? Like a wiener dog.
Oh yeah, dachshund.
Okay. And you know when they get old, their backs kind of go like that?
Yes.
So, and he was fat, obviously. And he was very old and very sweet. And he used to come in and his owner would put him down on the floor and he knew exactly where to go. He'd walk to the back and he'd go into the back room and he'd hang out with like the senior citizen crew. And one time, one of the staff that was back there came running out and was like, something happened. I'm not going to say the name of the dog, but something happened to this dog. And he didn't say what. The staff member didn't say what. So at that point, I was like management there, basically. So me and one of the owners went running back there. And this dog had decided that it's a good idea to hump a crate. And he got himself
A crate?
Yeah. And he got himself stuck in the crate in a way that no man should ever know. And it was horrible. It was like nobody would believe this story. Like, I came home and told people and they didn't believe me. And he was so stuck in it. Do you want me to continue?
What?
He was so stuck in it that we had to,
in my head right now. I can't.
we had to take wrenches and pull it apart to get him out because he had really done the job to that crate. And yeah,
gosh.
Yeah, you asked for it. That's the worst one I ever dealt with.
Oh my gosh, that is intense.
I mean, like, I've seen bad dog fights,
right?
But to me, like, this like outdid the dog fights because
I mean, in that situation, you got to think on your toes super quick.
Yeah, so like we got like soap water because it makes it like everything's
lubricant.
Yeah, we got soap water and wrenches. And then
I knew a first aid kit would involve wrenches. You know what I mean?
It was crazy. It was. I still, when I think about it now, it's like I still can't believe I lived through that. And I was like, I didn't just live through it. I was a part of that shit. Like,
right?
It was crazy.
Right? Oh, that's wild.
And they don't prepare you for that. Like, you'll go take a like dog first aid. They're never going to tell you what to do if a dog humps a crate. Promise you, it's not in the curriculum.
That must have been a sexy crate, let me tell you.
It was crazy. I was so crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
that is going to be one of the weirdest situations I've heard as far as first aid moments with a dog.
Yeah, you asked for it. You asked what was the craziest.
You win for that for sure.
That's like when anybody asks like about dog first aid, anything, like I recently did a CPR first aid class again because I just like to know the information, right?
Yeah.
And like they were like talking about all different things, and everyone's saying all these crazy things, and I'm just sitting there in my head smiling to myself. I'm like, nothing beats my story. Like, I promise you didn't see this. Yeah, that was bad.
That's for sure. That is for sure. Where did you go and get your first aid stuff done?
Actually, they host it by the facility I used to work at, so
Oh, cool.
I went there. Diane asked me if we reported to the owner. Diane, this dog wasn't, and let me just clarify for everyone who's just tuning in, this didn't happen in my home when it was my business. It wasn't under my care. Calm Canine Training does not allow dogs to hump crates. Okay, I just want to clarify that because I see some people popping in asking if I reported to the owner and stuff. So I just want to clarify that this was not, don't worry, if your dog comes to me, I promise we don't use wrenches in training. Your dog is fine. This happened somewhere else in a different place, and I was there, and I just with it. You see what you got me into?
Help people if they have a dog that does this and needs training.
Right. I'm putting this out there just like as a PSA. So if your dog ever does hump a crate, soap water and wrenches. Okay, that's the trick.
I love it. You have to have a sense of humor when you work with dogs. Am I right?
This is what you got me into, though. People are going to watch like in the local Facebook groups. It's going to say this Russ, the long-haired dog trainer guy, uses wrenches with his dogs and lets them hump crates.
Whoops. Yeah, Facebook's gonna go wild with that one for sure.
Yeah. They're always looking for something exciting to say.
Aren't they?
Okay, Diane, I answer your question. I swear. You wanted to know the owner's reaction. The owners were not really that upset, to be honest. They're like,
were they confused? Like, why is my dog doing this?
Maybe it's something he does. Maybe they know about his things. I don't know.
They're like, oh, the old crate again.
Yeah. I don't know. It didn't seem so crazy. He went to the vet and he got taken care of, and
he was all good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, back to your question though. You asked me where I did the CPR first aid. There is a group based in Long Island, like New York over here. I don't know what they're called. I can't remember right now. If anybody's interested who lives in New York wants information, I can get it for you. I don't remember what it's called. I have their certificate somewhere. But it's like a local Long Island group that does it. They have like a dog and cat ambulance service.
Oh, yeah. They have one of those out here, too. I thought that was really cool when I found out about that.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who's ever used something like that, like when it would really come up. But I guess we could have used it when this dog humped the crate.
But it is nice for like elderly people maybe who if they have a situation where their dog, an emergency comes up and maybe they can't drive or they don't have a caregiver there to help them out or something like that. It is a good thing to a service to have, you know, on the back.
For sure. And I guess like late night emergencies when you're really scared, it could be helpful to have like a professional who knows what they're doing. Like it's comforting for people, I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean it's scary when your dog is going through any sort of medical emergency. I know I mean my dog's Cody has suffered through a couple seizures and stuff like that, and if you didn't know what was happening when all that's going on, it can be a very traumatic moment, you know, and it's hard sometimes for people to like think straight when their emotions are so high like that. You see someone, you know, something you care so much about in so much pain, and you just want to do something about it, and you know, sometimes it's hard to witness stuff like that and think clearly, you know?
For sure. Seizures are scary. My friend's dog recently started having seizures and like didn't know what to do. The vet basically said there's not much to do for him really. He's old. So it's
How old is he?
We don't know.
Yeah.
We found him on the street, like he's like has like he looks like a homeless man. He has like no teeth.
One of my favorite dogs, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So we were driving together and we found him, and I was like, if we're picking him up, he's yours because I'm not taking more dogs. So she has him. Yeah. I already have my own street dog, and like I couldn't have another one. So
yeah. Which one is your street dog?
Mama Bear.
Oh really? Oh, yeah. I was telling Ren, you know, Ren from Balance Pack Canine Training. We just did that live together, the ridiculous live. But but she actually is looking for a little pity, very much like Mama. I was telling her she needs like a Mama Bear, you know. because that dog is the best.
Mama bear is special though. They don't come like that regularly. Like
I know they don't. It's like the daddy dog on Caesar too, you know?
Yeah, she reminds me of him a lot.
Yeah.
So Mama bear was like dumped. She was owned by somebody. Like there's unfortunately in my area, people do like backyard breeding, dog fighting, all that nice stuff. And she was dumped after she gave birth. And I guess they were done. Like they bred her enough time, so they dumped her. And she was in a construction site after Hurricane Sandy. It was a little bit after Sandy, so they were like rebuilding houses that were along the water. And she was dumped there, and the construction worker found her. And it's like a couple blocks from my house. And the worker was like really like a nice normal guy, and he like gave her water because she was laying there dying. He gave her water, and like he shared his lunch with her.
Aww.
And so she just was like hanging out with him the whole day because like she was just starving. She was like horrible looking. Aww. And then at the end of the day, he had to go back home. He lived in the Bronx, and he had to get on the train. He's like, I can't take this dog on the train with me. Like, so he knocked on the neighbor's house because they had a dog, and they called me because like I guess I'm the dog guy that you call when you find dogs. So they called me, and I was like, there's no way I'm keeping this dog. I can't, like, I couldn't have another dog. I only had Marley then, but I didn't want another dog.
I feel that.
And I was like, okay, and they told me the whole story. So I was like, okay. And they're like, we would keep her in our house, but we can't keep her overnight because our dog is aggressive. Like he's angry that she's here. He's being aggressive to her, and she's hiding in the corner scared.
Yeah.
So I went to their house, and I opened the door, and this like, as soon as I opened the door, she was just sitting there looking at me like sad thing, right? So I put a leash on her. I took her home, and I told everyone, I was like, I'm not keeping her. Like I was so adamant about it. Like there's no way I'm keeping her. So everyone's like, okay, but what are you going to call her for now? And I was like, no, I'm not naming her.
Can't do that. Then it becomes personal. No.
Exactly. So I was like, if you name a dog, you keep a dog. That's how it works.
Yep.
Like, I'm not naming her. I'm not getting attached to her. I don't care. I'm doing this just to save her life. And we're going to get her into a rescue, and I'm moving on. And I kept telling myself that. And so then it was Christmas time. It was like 2 days before Christmas. So Christmas is like big season for rescues. They stock up on dogs, you know?
Yeah.
So I called every rescue in the area. All the ones that said we'll always help you said we can't help you. And
they're overloaded during that time.
Yeah, somehow they magically rescue a lot of dogs before Christmas. Don't ask me to explain that one. And they said they couldn't take her, and they couldn't help with anything at all. They're like, you're on your own. But now I had this dog that was literally dying with me, and she was emaciated, and she had infections everywhere possible to have infections. Like she had just given birth. She still had milk coming out of her. Like that's how recent it was.
Oh my gosh.
So I had to bring her to a vet. Like I couldn't leave a dog like this just sitting in a crate like that. So I brought her to the vet, and then by the vet's office, they're like, well, what's her name? And I was like, she doesn't have one. And they're like, well, she needs a name. And I was like, no, so you name her. And
no.
Yeah. I was like, just write like Russell Dog 2 or something like that, right? And it wasn't even my regular vet. It was like the vet that's like 5 minutes from my house that I would never use. I was just like, I'm going there to get this done quickly.
Right.
And they're like, no, we need a name for the paperwork. It's how our system works. So I was like, okay, like write Mama because she just had babies, right? So they wrote Mama. And then I sat down, and she was like laying on my leg. By that point, she was very attached to me already, even though I wasn't being attached to her. But she was like laying on my leg and like, you know, getting really comfortable. And I was like, after 5 minutes of sitting there, I got back up and I walked over to them. I was like, add another name, add Beer. And then that's it. That's the story. That's
and it was over at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then like people were like, oh, we could take her into our rescue. And I was like, no, you're not touching her. Like, that was it.
My dog now.
Yeah. That's Mama Bear. She's my street dog.
What a story, man.
Yeah. So that's my rescue. So like for everyone who rescues dogs from shelters, all right, and you pay $250 for your rescue dog, You bought your dog.
That's I've got to. It bothers me so much when I hear the people that go adopt, don't shop, and it's like, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah.
When you're going to a rescue, you're walking down the aisle, looking at all the dogs and shopping which one you want the most.
Yeah.
So it's just funny. It's a funny concept, and it's like, did you pay for that dog, or did you literally find him in a gutter and now you've rescued him like a mama bear situation?
Right.
Now that's a rescue. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So it's like, it's so funny to me, these people that are like, adopt, don't shop. And it's like, okay, but then there's also these amazing breeders out there that are doing what they can to keep the breed alive. And I think that's really important work too. I mean, these backyard breeders that maybe are in your neighborhood, not necessarily a great thing, but, and those, I mean, if we can shut those down, that would be amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
These really terrible dogs with terrible genes and like mutations and stuff. It's like, what is even happening with that dog? Like, what is that supposed to be?
It's an exotic bully. You don't know about exotic bullies? I can't even say it.
My favorite though is when people will mix these two dogs together and they'll call it a designer dog and charge like 3 times the amount of money for it,
And people go for it. I mean,
why do you think the doodly dogs are so?
I was about to say, what do you think a doodle is?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Designer mutts.
Congratulations on your very expensive mutt, We
got to start a new hashtag. Hashtag adopting is shopping.
Adopting is shopping.
Yeah.
I like it. Hashtag adopting is shopping. I might have to use that.
When you switched from like dog walking and you started taking on all these hard cases, you said in the beginning that something started to change the way they were behaving, right? When they're with you. Can you pinpoint what changed?
When I went to go see a balance trainer, because when I first got started, there was this academy out here in San Francisco that's like a 4-day intensive all day course that you then at the end get a little piece of paper that says, congratulations, you're a certified dog walker.
Yeah.
Go charge people more money now. But that thing was very positive reinforcement only. I even had to sign papers at the end, like an oath, basically saying I will not use prong collars, e-collars. Well, they called it shock collars.
Yeah.
Prong collars, shock collars, choke chains, like all these kind of things, right? And at the time I didn't know. Like I'd never heard of a prong collar, or a pinch collar is what they called it. Because I think that sounds a little bit more like, Yeah,
it sounds mean.
Yeah. So, which is also another tactic that those kind of people have. Like, they'll definitely play into your emotions using the words, like with certain words and the way that they word things and stuff like that to kind of make you feel like you're a bad person if you do choose those options. And so that was definitely instilled in me. I was like, I would never, that's abusive. And they told me like I was a bad dog owner if I used that stuff, and I was being abusive and all these things. So I believed it because I was very ignorant back then. And so I was very much into they suggested easy walk harnesses. So let's put all the dogs on easy walk harnesses that pull. And like, what a joke those things are. I can't tell you how many dogs slipped out of those easy walk harnesses. And then I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I have this crazy dog that's like loose, and now I have to catch him and all this stuff. So yeah, it was a bit of a struggle for sure. But then another thing that killed me is in there, they at the very end, they did the training with everyone of, okay, here's like a mock trial of, here's an aggressive dog or a reactive dog in the distance. Here's what we do. And it was basically like throw food on the ground and say, find it.
Yeah.
And so the dog would be more focused on the ground and the food than he would be on the dog that's exploding at him, which did not work, like not at all. And I ended up kind of turning these dogs into like scavengers in a sense, like that were constantly like looking on the ground for food and that sort of thing. And it was hyping them up instead of calming them down, because with certain dogs, the food, you bring out food and they're like super aroused, and now like their mind is like elsewhere. They're not learning anything. They're just like focused on that food and how do I get it. And so I started, finding out like there were a few cracks in the pavement when it came to positive reinforcement only methods. And I was going to a chiropractor like almost every single day because my shoulders were getting pulled out of socket. My back was getting messed up because I was just being yanked around by dogs all day. Yeah. You know, I'd take like 7 dogs out with me at a time and they all had a different agenda, you know? And so I was like, I gotta find something else here. Like there's gotta be something. So I searched on YouTube and I found a couple of Michael Ellis videos and started watching that stuff. And I was like, huh, this makes sense. Okay, I see this. Okay, so maybe corrections aren't bad and telling your dog no is not really that bad. And this makes sense. Like, you know, you have to learn by consequences in life, and like fear is a part of life, stress is a part of life, and to pretend like we all live in this like fantasy world with like unicorns and rainbows and all this stuff is just not realistic, you know? Like, no, we don't live in this ideal world that reactive dogs are 100 feet away from us at all times. You know, it just doesn't happen. So yeah, I found Michael Ellis and started reading more about him and watching a lot of YouTube videos. And I went on the Learberg website and downloaded a lot of his DVDs. And then I found another video from a Google Talk that this behaviorist out here, Rob Pelodeau, did. And
I know what that one is.
Yeah, so that's actually, and then when I started researching him more, I was like, let me go to his website and see who this guy is. And it turned out he was in Vallejo, which out here is like, it was like 30 minutes away from me. And I was like, what? Like this guy's like right here in my backyard. This is amazing. So I reached out to him and I just introduced myself and said, hey, I'm a dog walker and I would love to come by and talk with you about you know, the tools that you guys use and your dog training approach and all this kind of stuff. I'm coming from a positive reinforcement only world, so I'm very new to all this stuff. And I just want to make sure if I'm going to use these things, I want to do it properly. And he was really kind and we set up an appointment. I think it was like the next day or something. And I went out there and met with him and another trainer of his. And I got to see an initial consultation that they did. And it was with this big fluffy white dog who was pulling his owner like all over the place, just really out of control. And they put a prong collar on him. And within a second, this dog was responding to them. And I thought, honestly, because the narrative behind it is, you know, you see a prong collar and people are like, whoa, yeah. You know, and it's like, that is not how it goes.
Like when they took it out, you're waiting for like this craziness, like they're going to yank that dog across the room.
I was a little nervous and I was like, oh gosh, like what am I about to see here? And then I was like, holy Lord, they're so gentle with everything. And the way that they're teaching the dog about pressure of the leash and then how to look to them for guidance. And then they're teaching the dog now what to do now that you can address that mindset initially. And I was blown away. I mean, I was like, wait, what? This is like, what? I've been so lied to. And I felt like really slighted by that other whole community. And I was like, man, like this doesn't make any sense. Like, why would these people slander these tools so much when you can use them so gently? Like, and then I was like, hey, let me shadow you. I want to learn more about this. They were so open to that. And so like, I forever am so grateful for Rob for that experience because I learned and still do. I still go to him for like almost everything.
Cool. What a cool person to learn from. He's very cool. I don't know.
He's got a lot of experience, a really cool background. He's into martial arts and stuff like that. He's like way high up there in the Kajukenbo world. And so he's got a really cool spirituality about him and energy. He's really big on energy and just everything. But it was really awesome to learn from someone like him because, well, number one, he's a great teacher. He's really patient and he's just like, yeah, he's very well versed. He's got a police canine background, like working with severely aggressive dogs. I want to rip your face off, you know, like I got to see a whole lot of cases when I worked with him. I started shadowing him a little bit and then he was like, you want a job? And I was like, yeah.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, I need to work with you guys because y'all are doing big things here. And I would see owners like straight break down crying because these dogs that they've been fighting with for so long, like such big struggles. And now all of a sudden in 5 minutes of working with them, it's like a different dog. And not to say that it's completely fixed. Obviously, you have to maintain that. You have to be consistent with that. But I was blown away. And I was even more blown away by the amount of people that they were helping. And seeing people just literally come to tears because they found a solution to their problem that they've been struggling with for so long was like, how do you not want to do this work? You know what I mean? This is amazing. And I could help people on a different level than just dog walking is. You know, dog walking is like, thanks for letting my dog out while I'm at work. Whereas training is like, thank you for changing my life.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And with training, you give the person the opportunity to actually walk their dog. So many people get dog walkers, not just because they're at work. A lot of them get it because like they dread walking their dog.
Oh yeah.
Like, let me pay somebody like $30 or whatever it is.
Yep.
I don't know what the dog walking rate is, but like, let me pay somebody to walk my dog, and like, I can get that off my head, and the dog will hopefully be tired enough that he doesn't eat my couch again, and like that he just goes to sleep for 10 minutes so I can eat something in peace. And it's like, it's just a break from their dog's craziness. And I think that like what you said, the best part, like for me, the most rewarding part of doing what we do is seeing owners' lives change. Like, of course I love the dogs, or else I wouldn't be doing this. There's so many ways I can change people's lives.
Yeah, it goes without saying, right?
But like seeing an owner get to walk their dog for the first time ever and without pulling their arm out, or like
it like gives me chills right now. It gives me chills just even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's such a every single time, no matter how tough of a situation is, like when I see that transformation happen with the owner, it like reminds me that I'm doing the right thing. Like no matter what, like say whatever you want on the internet, everyone can scream and yell, but when I see that happen, like the owner take the leash and walk their dog, or the owner break out into a smile or tears or whatever because they finally have their dog that they dreamed of, it's like, hell yeah, it's all worth it.
That's everything. It's everything. It's almost like I feel bad taking people's money sometimes because it's like, I love doing this so much. And I'm like, I almost feel like you have to pay me to hang out with your dog. Like,
I don't feel bad taking anybody's money. I disagree with that one.
I mean, that's kind of why I got started doing what I was doing with the pet sitting and dog walking stuff. I'm like, what can I do? I need to find something that I love to do and I'm passionate about, and something that even if I wasn't getting a paycheck, I would still want to do it. And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, what do I do on the weekends for fun? It's like, well, I go take my dog out for hikes. You know, I'm outside walking and I'm doing this stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, I see a need for it, obviously. And through working at the daycare stuff, you know, you see that need for it. And then it was like, okay, maybe I can do this. And then once I got the ball rolling with that, it was like, okay, I guess we're really doing this, you know? And then now 10 years later, it's like, or almost 10 years later, I mean, I love it. I love it so much. I still like the pet sitting and dog walking aspect of it because it's not as high pressure as maybe training is. And you get to know the dogs on a little bit different level. I mean, they become family to me. I tell people all the time, like during my initial consultations with people, it's like, you know, I'm not just evaluating your dog. I'm evaluating your dog with the rest of my family, you know, because these people, when they sign up with me, they sign that contract, it's like, welcome to the family, guys. Yep. Because it's all, I mean, I group dogs together. We have, you know, multiple families go out of town together. So we have dogs staying together. And so I want to make sure everyone meshes well. Because again, it's, you know, energy is a big thing. And if you throw one dog in the mix that's maybe a little off kilter, it messes everything up. So, and that goes why dog parks are a terrible idea. Because one single dog can come in the mix with your peaceful play, you know, outing that you're experiencing with your dog, and then all of a sudden this, you know, Cujo decides to come in the park and then wreaks havoc on everyone. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an aggressive dog; it can just be like an overexcitable dog, and that sends a lot of dogs through the roof. So, yeah,
I think in theory, dog parks are beautiful. In theory, daycares are beautiful.
Yeah,
like I know that you could have complete stranger dogs with each other and it could totally work.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, exactly. But nobody's willing to do it in a real way. They want to just let dogs work things out. And then they do work it out, but it's like not the way that you want them to work it out, right?
Yeah.
But in theory, the idea is beautiful to have a place where dogs and owners can go and mingle and hang out and have a healthy group social experience, like that would be really nice.
Yep.
But it's
I
not what
actually
it is.
heard of, and I don't know if this is like, this was just the talks of it or if it's actually played out, but this place in Houston, Texas, it's supposed to be this like giant indoor dog park, and you have to go through like an evaluation before you're even allowed in, and then you pay a certain amount of time, like for a certain amount of time, and then each individual play area is all monitored by a professional. So they're in there kind of controlling it and making sure everyone's playing nicely. And it's like you literally have to pass an evaluation before you're even allowed in the doors, which I thought was really a really cool way to do the whole dog park thing. Because I mean, everyone, that's like the first thing people say when they come to me during their consultations. I'm like, what are your goals? And they're like, I want to be able to take my dog to a dog park. And it's like, oh boy, we have work to do. You know what I mean? If that's your goal, like for this consultation is going to need to be 4 hours, okay? Because we got some things we got to work through. So it's definitely a struggle trying to change people's mindset about, you know, how dog parks really are versus how their mind is like in the fantasy world perceiving it, you know?
Yeah. But I think that's where you, with your background and my background, it's very similar, where we have an up and like in the way we can explain it, because we've seen things that a lot of people probably shouldn't see if you love dogs, right? That's the reality. Absolutely. And it allows us to tell them firsthand in a way that's not just like, oh, but this is the theory of why you shouldn't go to the dog park. This is the theory of why you shouldn't send your dog to a free-for-all daycare. It's like, no, this is what I've seen, right?
I've been there.
Yeah, I used to go to the dog park every single day with Marley, my first dog, one with the most issues, obviously. And I used to go every single day. That was my way of getting his energy out. I would socialize. I made friends there. Like, we used to have a great time. We'd have human picnics while the dogs worked things out with themselves on the other side of the park. And it was a lot of fun. But the last time I ever went to the dog park was when I saw a dog's ear get completely ripped off, right? So to me, that's like, all right, I get it. Like, everyone was telling me, like, a lot of people were starting to tell me, like, don't bring your dog to the dog park anymore. Like, he's reactive. It's not a good idea. And I was like, yeah, but it's great for him. He loves it. He did love it. But like, when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's enough. But now we can use these experiences that we've seen or been around and be like, okay, don't go to the dog park. Not because like it's going to mess up your dog's mindset, because nobody wants to hear that, honestly.
Right? It's true.
It's like, don't go to the dog park because you want your dog to come home in one piece every single time you go out of the house. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah. Well, when my first experience with a dog park with my dog Cody was because my vet actually told me, and I didn't know any better. You know, Cody's 15 years old, so this was a long time ago. And you know, I had just worked in the shelter environment, which is very emotional. You know, it's very love the dog to death. You know, that kind of thing, and not necessarily rules and boundaries and structure or anything like that. And so I didn't really know any better. And the vet was like, oh, he's a puppy. You got to socialize him. You got to get him around all these other dogs and people and just expose him to as much stuff as you can. There's a cool dog park over in Castro Valley you can go to and go experience other dogs, and just, you know, it's going to be the best thing for him. And I was like, okay, cool. So I checked it out. I went into this dog park, put Cody down. He's a little puppy. He's, you know, old enough to go into a dog park, but still very young. And 2 seconds later, lady comes in with this big old pit bull, and not to say that it's a pit bull, but it just happened to be that was the breed. They're very prevalent out here. There's a lot of them, but this little pit bull came in and saw Cody as like a little squeak toy and was like, all right, that's my snack for today. And went over and picked him up by the scruff of the neck and was like shaking him and running around the park. And of course it's this massive park, so the owner's chasing after him, I'm chasing after him, and you know, it's just chaos, complete and utter chaos. And I'm like, this is not what I expected. Yeah. This did not go as planned. And after that, then Cody became incredibly reactive.
No, it was like, so.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Right. So it was especially targeted toward big dogs. So any dog that was larger than him, it was like, I mean, he immediately was like, I'm going to get you before you get to me.
Yeah.
and he was trying to shut it down real quick. So, so I was like, this was a dumb decision. I've screwed up my dog, and I felt a huge amount of guilt and beat myself up for it a lot. But I was like, you know what, there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, it is what it is. It happened, but now let's move forward. Let's try to fix it. And, you know, I did a lot of positive only methods in the early stages. And then really, I didn't start seeing really changes with Cody until I met Rob, and he gave me those kind of special tools and techniques that I needed in order to help his issues. And then since then, it's like, I can have Cody around pretty much any dog. I mean, he's still going to have those moments where he has a bubble for sure. And if a dog steps into his bubble, he's going to very much let him know, like, back off. I do not want you here. So unless it's a small dog, he wants to play with every single small dog he sees. But I
think a lot of reactive dogs still have that sense, that bubble, because the way I look at reactivity is we can stop it and we can teach a dog how to cope better. But at the same time, it's like there's a reason why that dog is reactive, and usually it's because of a bad experience of some sort. And if we as owners ensure that dog has that safety bubble, then we'll be able to really help him with the reactivity, right? But if the dog doesn't see that, like, the owners create that safe space around them, like I know Marley, who's like, right, my Cody, he's my highly reactive dog who's had all sorts of stuffs when he was a puppy that never should have happened with puppies.
Yeah.
And like, to me now looking back, it's like, it's clearly obvious why he's reactive. Like, I was a bad owner. I didn't know what I was doing. So like, I allowed him to be put in situations that were scary for him.
Yep.
And I would also be reactive, right? It's like if every single time I went outside from when I was a child, people were pushing me around and getting in my face, like, I would start to hate people, right?
Yeah,
it was just the reality. And so now it's like, if another dog gets too close to him that he doesn't really know yet, it's like, he'll give them a little growl, but I feel like that's my job to make sure it doesn't happen in the first place. It's like, just stay out of Marley's space so that he can feel safe. And then if he growls at you, then I'll make sure he doesn't do that again.
Yeah, it's all about advocating for your dog, right? And what's right. And that's why that whole thing where you were saying, you know, people with the concept of like, let dogs just work it out, like why I'm so against that. I'm like, no, because your dog needs to go, okay, I trust this human to have my back. And so I know that if this situation comes up, like Taco now is to the point, that's right, how I got Taco was because he started becoming very aggressive and reactive, and it became too much that for my brother and his wife to handle. And so, you know, I said, I'll take him on. He'll be here until he takes his last breath. I'll do whatever I can to work with him, but I don't necessarily, like, you can't rehome this dog. Like, you either put him down or give him to me, because it's like irresponsible if you give this dog to another family, because he has a bite history, you know. And so working with Taco and working through the reactivity stuff, he's really helped me learn a lot about dealing with aggressive dogs. And now we're at the point where if he's uncomfortable, he'll either give himself space, so he'll remove himself from the situation instead of reacting like he used to, or he'll look back at me and is like, can you help me out here? You know, I'm uncomfortable. Can you deal with this? And that's, to me, a much better decision than him going, I got this.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the goal. Like, when we speak of like being a leader to your dog, like a lot of times that sounds very like, okay, I don't know what that means, but it's like a leader is someone you look to, right? When something goes wrong, a good leader, you look to them and be like, help. It's your job. You're the leader, right? Yes. And when your dog starts to do that, that's like, you know, you've taken the role of leadership, and that they understand that. And therefore they don't need to take it into their own hands. The thing, like you were saying, right, we were talking about dogs working it out on their own. You want to understand how dogs work things out on their own, go watch some like National Geographics of any animals.
Yes.
And they fight till death, right? Yes. And
so
like,
when you even bring that up, I was just watching something on like Nat Geo Wild Attacks or something like that, because I'm so fascinated by all animal stuff. And I think that plays a lot into just normal animal behavior. It's a lot of stuff is very instinctual for dogs. And I think people sometimes forget about that. You know, it's like, you have an animal on your hands. You don't have a baby. You don't have a fur baby. You know, he's not a child. He's a dog. He's a canine with very real teeth, you know? And they unfortunately don't come to us pre-programmed learning how to understand and communicate with using the English language. So it's our job to go, okay, so how does this being learn, right? Like, how do they communicate? And then work with that, right? So it's like, okay, now I know how they communicate. So now I can learn how to best teach them, how to best interact with them, how to deal with certain situations. But I think a lot of people they just don't necessarily know how to read dogs and how they communicate. And I think that's a huge missing piece of the puzzle that, number one, I think shelters need to get on board with. And instead of teaching their first class to be sit down and stay, it's like, let's teach canine body language. Let's teach how dogs learn. Like, let's teach people about dogs, not how to teach them to put their butt on the ground. Yep. You know what I mean? So for me, that's something that I'm really passionate about. Hopefully making a change in the rescue world as far as that goes. I've been trying to get Rob for days, trying to do seminars on that. So
you work with a rescue out there, right? I see
with Rob. So Rob started a rescue. It's called 11th Hour Canine. And the beautiful thing about it is, I mean, he's been doing this for years, but he just recently started up the nonprofit, which Next Gen Canine is his training company that kind of funds the rescue. But he basically takes dogs from the euthanasia list or high-risk dogs at shelters who are in their essentially 11th hour of need. And he pulls them and rehabilitates them and then finds an appropriate home for them later. So it's a very hard job, but if anyone's going to do it, I mean, he's doing an amazing job. And I actually have one of his fosters right now, Buckeye, a little cattle. Well, not little. He's 7 months old and he's like 80 pounds or something crazy.
Do you train these dogs? Are you working with him like on the training?
Yeah. So I just started with helping him out more so like with doing I'm helping now with this foster. So I'm doing some training with him because he's got major fear issues. He's going through a fear period right now. And he's also just kind of always had stranger danger issues. So I'm really working with him, trying to get him back on track. So, you know, we'll see. He's a work in progress though. I mean, with working with fearful dogs, it can take like one instance for them to go right back to square one. And I saw that already with him. I mean, we were at the park the other day and we've been getting to the point where we can go there and sit at the park and he can just like kind of look around and check stuff out. And he looks back at me and I'll give him a reward and all that stuff. So we've been getting really good with that. And then the other day we were out and I had like 4 or 5 kids come screaming, running, racing by us. Then one kid threw a skateboard down and started skating right as he walked by. And it freaked Buckeye out. And at that moment when all that happened, then a car honked their horn and then a dog started reacting crazy. And it was just like all this stimulation at once. And he was like, ah!
Yeah, everything just happened at that perfect moment to throw.
I mean, it was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? Like, seriously, we've had such great progress. And now it's like, we're back to square one. So, so that's the struggle with working, especially with fearful dogs it's very time consuming. And that's why also I just don't get a lot of videos of stuff like that because my focus is the dog, you know, like I'm not focused on how I'm going to present this to social media. It's like my number one is the dog and the client and what's going to be best for them. And I run such a long, busy day that I sometimes just don't have time to set up a camera and do all this stuff and get all the good angles, and editing takes me like 10 years and I don't know how you do it. You're amazing.
I started editing because I've been trying to do a lot more like video stuff recently. For like every dog that comes in, I'm trying to literally show as much of the process as I could, like one video a day. But like I started, like what I do now is I video throughout the day. I always have my tripod with me and I'll just video like 10, 15 minutes, whatever. And then at night when like I should be sleeping, I'm listening to 2 crazy people who have this crazy Instagram live and they're on in the background talking about all sorts of crazy things. And then that was some of the most entertaining shit I've had in a while.
I'm so glad to hear it.
I was like taking notes. I'm like, all right, I got to add some of these questions into like interviews that I do. These are great
questions, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
She
Sometimes
needs
it's fun to not talk dogs for a little bit and just have some fun with it and get to know the people.
I was all for it. She needs to start like a podcast show, whatever she wants to call it, with just that list of questions for like, random people. She should have people on that she doesn't know and don't give the questions first.
Oh my, that's amazing.
Like they just have to agree to be willing to. For those of you who don't know, like what's Ren's page again?
Balance Pack Canine Training.
Yeah, Balance Pack Canine Training. Guys, go give her a follow. She's awesome.
She's hilarious.
When I first found her page, you had like posted, I don't know what it's called, like reshare to your stories something from her, and she was talking with a Long Island accent. So I went to her page, and she was like a bunch of stories talking like that, and I was like, this chick has like the best accent ever. I loved it because like I live right next to Long Island. I appreciate that so much, and it sounded so real.
You're like my people.
Yeah, and then like the next day she's talking like a normal person. I was like, what the fuck happened here? I was so confused.
Ren, she's so funny. She breaks out into accents all the time, and I personally reach out to her just for daily entertainment sometimes because she is so funny. But I remember the other day she said, I don't really do my accents. I don't do my accents in my Instagram stories, and I'm like, literally like, today you just did an accent, and you're like the one you have now. You're doing it.
Now that I've been following her for a bit, she doesn't realize like that she's doing that.
It just comes out naturally because like she said, she's in character all day. It's like, it's so funny. She makes me laugh so much.
I love it.
But she has such a cool background too. Like she's probably one you'd want to have on here because she is a unique individual with she's done a lot of personal work on herself over the years and stuff. And she just has a lot of great insight to life. And man, I love that girl so much. She's awesome.
So that's when I do my video editing.
Yeah.
It's late at night.
Yeah, so. That's the thing. If you're working by yourself as a dog trainer, man, you don't really get a lot of sleep.
No.
You know, you're wearing a lot of hats there. It's not just training dogs. It's managing a business. It's keeping up with, clients and their emails and following up with people and maintaining the business side of things, the admin work and just everything. It's like if you're running a solo thing by yourself, like props to you because it's a lot of time and energy.
Yep. But yeah, but videos is important. The reason why I think videos is important is because if not for anything else, it gives a lot of owners hope.
Yes.
Like that's what I've seen from it because I don't necessarily post so many videos that like people can learn from that much. Mm-hmm. I used to do that more. I don't have time for it. Like to do how-to videos and stuff like that. I just don't have enough time anymore. But I mean, I guess I can make time because I have a whole list of how-to videos that I still think I should be doing. But in terms of like documenting progress, when you see a dog who comes in like all over, like Elvis, who I have here, this golden retriever.
Oh my gosh, you've done such amazing work with him.
Right, but that's the point. Is like if you see day one and then you see now, it's like it's not trying to show what I can do. It's trying to show what your dog is capable of. That's why. Right. It's not like I don't care if like it's great when everyone says great work, great work, great work. But like I don't really care. It's like I want you to see that your dog can have the same thing. Like you could have an awesome life with your dog, even if he's like this or worse, because this dog was a psycho. Like
yeah, absolutely. I think it does give a lot of owners hope. And that's why I've been trying to find someone who will just like follow me around like I'm a dang celebrity, like paparazzi style and just everything. What's that?
Do you know Gary Vee?
Yes, I love. I actually am on his text thing, so I get a text from him all the time, and they're very.
He probably texted me 3 times while we've been talking because this is his time of night.
Yeah, he's amazing. Actually, he's definitely brought my hustle game up a notch or two. That's for sure.
So
I've actually. What?
His videographer, like his main guy who videos him all day. His name is D-Rock. Like David Rock, but he's called D-Rock. So it became like a noun. It's like, I need a D-Rock. Like people post on Craigslist, I'm looking for a D-Rock for my business.
I need a D-Rock. Where is he?
Whoever wants to volunteer for me to be a D-Rock, you could hang out with me today.
Yes. And I thought about that. I thought about reaching out and maybe putting a post up or something to people who want to just get more experience with dogs, because I think just being around them and seeing them you can learn a lot, right? You don't necessarily have to be like physically working with dogs on your own. It's like you can just be around it and just kind of keep your mouth closed and watch what's happening and take mental notes or physical notes, whatever you want to do. But yeah, there's a lot can be learned from just sitting back and watching. So
absolutely. Okay, I have a question for you. This is my main question that I like to ask everybody who I talk to. So,
okay.
if you can, if there was one thing, what's one thing that you wish every dog owner would know? Like, if you can broadcast this to the dog owners of the world globally, what's one thing you wish they all knew?
Probably just to not judge something that you haven't tried, I would say, because I struggled a lot over the years because I did, and I don't want that for dog owners. You know, I don't want them to feel shamed into using certain, if they choose to use certain tools or a different approach with their dog or something like that. I think it's really important to just do what you feel is going to be right for you and your dog and not worry about the judgment that comes from other people.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Keep opinions out of dog training and try it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Because I love people on those forums that are like, oh, these are such bad tools, or this is a bad approach. And it's like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm a HR director and I've never seen a dog in my life. You know? And it's like, oh, great. Okay, perfect. I'll take all my advice from you. Thank you. You know,
Yeah.
so I think that's probably the most important thing in my mind. Just be
judgment
open.
and opinions is probably holds back so many dog owners from doing what's really best for their dogs.
Exactly. And I have clients too. I struggle with this all the time. Like, especially when I introduce like a prong collar or something like that, because it has such a stigma. And then it also looks kind of like a crazy barbaric tool. And so people are like very taken aback. And then when they go to like do a correction on their dog, it's like, okay, you're not going to like, you won't hurt your dog. These collars are actually designed very humanely so that they're not going to be like choking your dog out or anything like that. So I think it's a matter of allowing people to get that confidence that the tools that they're using are fine. And so a lot of times I'll even put it on my own neck and be like, here, look, watch, it's fine. You know, and I'll take it off my neck and be like,
you're basically wearing one now with that choker thing.
I know. I actually have a picture on my Instagram stories with about my under my highlights. It's like prong collar, and I have myself wearing a prong collar. So it's my history.
You know those micro prongs for like teeny tiny dogs?
Yes.
So when I first found out about them, I got one. I was rocking it as a bracelet for at least 3 months. And I was like, we have to start a thing. Like it's like prong pride.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Year one.
Exactly. And it's funny too, because like after I started working with them and I see people on the street with prong collars on, I'm always like, yeah, you know?
Yeah.
You know, because it's like I know a lot of those owners, they feel a bit like, you know, oh, I don't want the stigma of like what this is gonna like what other people are gonna think of me for using this or whatever. Or even if maybe their dog is a vocal dog and they go to make a correction and the dog makes an audible noise and then everyone like looks and it's like, don't worry about that. Just put your blinders on, do what's best for your dog. That's the main thing, right? That's what's important here, not about what everyone else thinks about you. Because everyone's gonna have their opinions, but
like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was looking outside my window and I see this guy walking a dog, and I look closely and I see like, you know, that little box sitting on his neck, and I see the guy holding a remote in his hand, and the dog is walking in a perfect heel.
Yeah.
Like, sits, perfect heel, everything.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of him. I had never met this guy in my life. I was so freaking proud. Opened the door, I ran across the street to him. I was like, I just want to tell you, I love the way your dog is walking. Aww. I'm so proud of you. Like, I was just so excited for him. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, he didn't get like I realized, okay, I sound crazy. And and I was like, you have like a really well-trained dog. You obviously, and he was talking, and then he like realized what I meant, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. Like, I'm a dog trainer, and I see so many people who struggle. And to see you doing this, like, it made me like proud of him. I was like, you're an awesome dog owner. Like, and he had done it all on his own, which was the really cool thing. Like, no.
Yes. I mean, it's tough. I mean, to navigate the world of an e-collar with a dog, it can sometimes be an intimidating piece of device, you know? So it's like, for people that are willing to take that on and put the work in, it's like, yeah, you want to pat them on the back when you see that. Like when I see a dog out on the street and they're not blowing up at us, I'm like, I want to hug the people. So I'm like, thank you for putting the time and effort into your dog, you know, or maybe it's just they just got that perfect dog. But
no, nope.
Yeah. Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, especially in my neighborhood, man, like I'm always saying this is like a perfect neighborhood for me and working with dogs because there's just a plethora of reactivity issues going on here.
Yeah.
And so it's a really good opportunity for me to work with dogs that struggle or something like that, you know? So, so yeah, it's a good thing. And it's also a really bad thing because I've had dogs that are reacting and then their collar comes loose and now they're charging at us. And it's like, wow.
Yep.
Great. This is a fun walk. You know, you're just trying to out there and enjoy a night and stroll with your dog. And then now all of a sudden you're fending off this off leash dog. So, you know.
Yep. I know all about it in my area. It's too common. It's
Yeah.
like part of my training is teaching owners like how to kick. It's like,
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Those and just those kind of de-escalation tactics and techniques and things like that. It's like a lot of times I see some people that get so hardcore with it, like initially straight off the get-go, they're like, get your dog. And it's like, well, relax. Like, now you're adding to the craziness. Like, you know, there's simple things you can do, which is just turning and averting the situation and turning and walking away from it. And sometimes that will stop a dog because they're like, wait, why aren't you not coming towards me? You know? So sometimes something as simple as that. And sometimes just your energy of like, I step in front of dogs and I'm like, no. And I just like put my hand out and some dogs are like, and then they go away and they're like, oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Using your energy and your body and creating space 99% of the time works better than anything else because it's clear information for the dog. And all of a sudden the dog is like, oh shit, she speaks my language.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you start screaming, get away, the dog's like, oh crap, she's reactive too. Let's do this.
Right. Totally. That's like when, you know, you have a dog fight situation. I see it all the time because I do when the parks are open, there's a dog park right up the road for me that no one really ever goes to. And so sometimes I'll go there and bring like a group of dogs and just by myself, and I won't let anyone else with us, but I'll see on the other side, there's like a large dog side that there's people playing around, and I've had to hop the fence I don't know how many times to break up dog fights. And to see people, how they react, it's like initial screaming and chaos and everything's insane. You're just adding to that level of energy and excitement and arousal. And now you're making the situation 10 times worse. So it's like, if you would just stay calm and then take the dog that's like latched onto the other one and basically like cut their oxygen supply off, and then the dog releases it, and then you just separate the situation and get them out of there. And that's to me, like, the best thing you can do. Just keep calm, keep relaxed, keep your cool.
Yeah.
And everything will be okay. I mean, it might not be okay, but you know what I mean?
It'll be a lot better.
It'll be a lot better than it could have been, for sure.
It's like a bar fight, you know, in a bar fight, if two guys are fighting, it could just be two people fighting. But when everybody starts screaming and getting excited, that's
chaos.
when the police have to show up, right? That's when it gets crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. We're going to wrap it up because it's been about an hour or so. So I think that's good. I think people have had enough of me. I don't know about you. But
well, thanks for having me on. I feel so honored. You were so
a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. Can you tell everyone how they can find you, follow you, get to know you more, all that stuff?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Facebook at For the Love of Dog. You can see right down, where is it? Here, right there. Yeah. That's my handle there. And you can check me out there. You can also go to fortheloveofdog.biz, B-I-Z, and that's all spelt out. There's no number or anything like that. It's all spelt out, and that's my website. So that'll take you to my contact page or anything like that. You can always, my number's all over the place, so people can text me or email me, whatever works. So yeah, find me on there, and don't ever hesitate to reach out because I love connecting with other dog folks, whether it be other trainers or other people just wanting to do better with their dogs. I love connecting with people. That's what I love about social media, is really cool.
All right, guys, go follow Heather. Thank you all for joining.
He's amazing. If you're not already doing that, man, you should.
Thank you all for joining. Hope you all have an awesome night.
See you later.
Love you all. Stay kind.
Aw.